So everybody knows how hard it is to be creative in this species, how hard it is to feel like you believe in yourself and your voice and your creativity, frankly, just your life and personhood. Like, unless you're some influencer or celebrity that has several million followers and is always getting told by thousands of people every time you turn your head out the window how amazing you are, it's really, really fucking difficult to believe in anything that you do, which is where depression and the S word and all other kind of horrible things come in. And for a couple of years now, I have been really into expressing myself with writing and posting it to the sad excuses that we call online communities as a replacement for, a real life community, which America does not offer in any kind of way. And throughout that time, I have been called so many names, especially for the subject matter. I write, like typical feminine romantic fantasy stories. And I didn't realize when I first started writing that that is considered like the bottom tier when it comes to online writing communities, most of which is fan fiction. And I read a comment just like 15 minutes ago that was specifically making fun of that specific genre that comes to these writing communities. And I had the stories that mean a lot to me posted on these writing communities for the past couple of years. And unfortunately, for certain reasons, they really stand out, like they're at the top page, not because they're popular, but because of how long and dedicated and passionate I am, far more than the people that are insulting my stories and saying how worthless and terrible they are. And it just makes me feel kind of weird, because I feel like for the past couple of years, I've been posting my stories online, and they've either been ignored or they've been called worthless by the communities that they are written for, amongst other things, basically any negative narrative you can come up with. Or just in general, people within these communities have just been making fun of the genre that I write for. And it used to devastate me, and it still does. It really, really does. It still devastates me to this day to constantly read people that are making fun of the genre that I'm the most passionate about writing for, that I most naturally write for, and literally my biggest passion, which honest to God, is literally just telling stories. Like, I just love art, and I love cinema, and I love anything that's storytelling. And unfortunately, I like writing them the most, more than I like consuming them, because no story out there tells a story like the way that I specifically do. And as a nobody, and as someone who has no coherent creative or humanitarian worth, by the classic definition, which is getting money and being recognized and getting a lot of attention for my stories, which in my opinion, the only way that you can get attention for your stories as an average person is basically by writing for popular current media and kind of riding that wave. And I haven't been doing that. I've been writing very niche, original, authentic stuff that is not mainstream and not popular by any stretch of the imagination at all. And it has really taken an extreme toll on me to read people constantly saying, like, oh, this type of genre is so cringe and annoying. And I start raging whenever I see the way that it's posted online, or even just going on my Tumblr feed and seeing people be like, there's so much trash that's on AO3 right now. Like, I wish that, people with talent would come on and start posting. And you can imagine that me having written fics that are like on the front page in some ways, because of how long and passionate they are, that I would take that personally, even if it wasn't a direct jab at my stories. And all this just to say that I'm wondering if it's possible, if it is truly, truly possible to learn how to live without creative support or personal support. Because in my opinion, being a successful creative and how much people love you as a person, devastatingly enough, kind of go hand in hand. And I really, really wonder if it is actually genuinely possible to get to a point where you no longer feel affected by how awful people are and how much people make fun of your stories, the way that you think, the way that your imagination works, the way that you write things and express yourself, and of how life naturally comes to you. I'm wondering if it is possible to ever get to a point where you truly do not care anymore about what people say about your work or how apathetic people are to it. Because I have like more passion than most people on the internet, I've noticed. It's just a technical fact, because literally on all these writing communities, my stories are some of the most longest stories that are on there. And I don't say that to be like, oh, I'm so unique and special. It's just literally a fact. And it's not even something to brag about. It's actually incredibly painful, to be honest, because that really makes me stand out. And like I said, unfortunately, rather than getting, like attention or praise or community, it's actually the opposite, where people tend to make fun of me and criticize me and tell me that my work is worthless. And a lot of the time, they don't even say it directly. They'll just vague post about it, like on a Tumblr feed. Because this is for really niche, nerdy types. But AO3 and Tumblr is kind of like inherently interconnected. Like it's kind of like this community of sorts that kind of like feed into each other in a way. And as someone that processes existence in a very like, you know, artsy type of way, and not really so much like, here's my boyfriend and we're gonna go off and do this crazy thing and film it. Like I'm more of like a reflective artist type of person, and it's really, really painful because throughout the years I have been told by this only place where I have any chance of having community or love or connection or support, and it's been nothing but people making fun of the way that my brain thinks. And this is the problem with being an individual. And this is the problem with being an individual, is that the way that my brain and my heart thinks is so specific that unfortunately it doesn't really attract like a mainstream audience. I don't ride like trends, I don't copy people, and I don't really do anything other than whatever it is that feels authentic to me. And unfortunately, what feels authentic to me, people do not care about, but even actively judge and make fun of. And I feel so worthless. It has swept into my personal life because I can't date, I can't make friends because I don't trust them, and I don't think that they would ever care about what I care about, and therefore me. Because in my opinion, you can't really care about a person as an individual unless you care about their art, or at the very least genuinely support it and see where they're coming from with it. And people don't do that when you're someone that writes for a genre that is considered cringy or bad, or like something that's considered self-fulfilling or self-indulgent. In my opinion, all fiction is inherently self-indulgent because it's basically someone's opinion in fiction form. But especially with the genre I write for, which like I said is like feminist, like romance, it's really difficult to get people to be on my side because I write for the cringiest, unwanted genre out there. And as someone who also has a terrible personal life, you can imagine that people like me are in a very, very, very fragile, horrible, lonely place in life, and it never gets better. And I'm not doing this to complain. I just want to acknowledge about how difficult it is to be in a community-less society with terror, and to just have no place to just, yeah, to talk to people in a way that's healthy and to express yourself in a way that isn't terrible Reddit forums. I've been dealing with this for years.